All right, guys, we're gonna dive right into your feet. This is probably my favorite topic we're gonna talk about because I think it's, let alone running form's not talked about as much, but your feet and your foot health is definitely not talked about as much as it should be. Before I get into it, we're gonna talk about how to activate your arches, the benefit of the big toe that we talked about a little bit this morning, kind of with the ankle issue that you've been having, but this is something that helps with, if you have plantar fasciitis, this is a pretty good way to solve that, but it gives us a lot of stability of the foot that a lot of people think I have to wear a motion control shoe or a stability shoe to get control of your foot. You actually can do that on your own for the most of the time on your own by learning how to activate your big toe and activate your arches. Before I get started, anybody have any burning questions of random, anything, injuries you've had in the past, anything like that with your toe, a bunion, anything like that? Because we'll get into all that stuff. If you give me some things to talk about, I won't forget. What's up?
I guess currently, shared this with you, but I did tear my plantar fascia back in January. And this is my first week back to running. It's going pretty decent.
Yeah.
But I'm not noticing pain here anymore where I was.
Yeah.
It's more here, and it feels like more of a stretch when I'm running. So
more wraps around the heel.
yeah.
Okay. And do you have like a flatter foot?
Yeah.
Okay, I can see how flat it looks. So guys, think there's no good or bad like arch height. I think like Mike, we've talked a little bit, like if you have a really higher arch, that can mean your foot's more, it's more of a stiffer kind of a foot. And that can lead you to have an increased risk of having like this inversion ankle sprain and just chronic ankle sprain issues. On the flip side, if you have a flatter foot, you have a more flexible foot that kind of molds to the ground. And that's not a bad thing either. It's just a lot of times someone has a flexible foot, they don't know how to stabilize it, which I think most people are more of I have a flexible flat foot versus like Mike, you just have a stiffer foot. Both will benefit from how to activate your arches. The person with a flatter foot, more flexible foot, is gonna help give you that stability. The person with a higher arch is gonna help, it's still gonna give you stability, but it's gonna help anchor your foot to the ground so you have less of those ankle sprains. It's almost like if you load the arch more, that'll help give you a little more cushion so you don't have to I have to wear this high cushion shoe because someone told me high arches, you need cushion. You can create that through your arch. So yeah, that's a good, so with regards to plantar fasciitis, guys, plantar fasciitis, it's actually an osis. I think of the plantar fascia as a long, it's a super rigid, not rigid, sorry, just a lot of really thick, dense, super strong connective tissue. And it does originate from the heel bone, but part of the calf Achilles complex, the Achilles tendon actually wraps around. It doesn't insert here, but fibers of that, they're called the paratendon, which is like the sheath of it. Like if you have a sausage and you have that sheath around it, the paratendon continues to wrap around and it actually becomes part of the plantar fascia. So there's a big connection between the calf. So we want to make sure we have some calf mobility and strength. But with regards to the plantar fascia, and it's right here, that's my heel that hurts. What research has shown that it's from a lack of blood flow. So when you can increase foot arch activation and strength, that's automatically going to increase blood flow to the area. That's going to help it heal. But a lot of times there's a lot of extra strain on that plantar fascia. That's why we tear it. That's why we have it right here at the insertion. If you can get your arch muscles more active, that can help stabilize your foot, and then you won't have the plantar fasciitis. And that really helps resolve it, and I've had a lot of success with. Let's get your foot more active. Boom, that plantar fascia pain goes away, and we clear it up. Really good question. Any other questions you guys have before I get into my more fun things? I kind of went on a rant there. That was a good rant. All right, cool. We're going to jump into it. Actually, we go into shoes first. So, no, we'll do this one first. When we hit the ground, I don't care how you hit, even if you overstride, let's say I hit more middle of my foot, I'm going to push off, or I get in mid stance, and then my heel comes off, and then I push off. I want to show you guys one thing. When I initially contact the ground, my foot actually is going to, it's going to collapse. Like you see my arch lower as I do this. I'll get over here so everyone can see. My arch is lowering as I have initial contact. That's pronation. It's not bad. We need to have pronation. It dissipates force. If you don't pronate at all, think of that like ground reaction force thing we looked at the other day. That'll spike up even more. Like all that force, not going to spike higher, but you'll have that force happens really, really quick, and it's harder for our body to handle it. Imagine, I know some runners that they step off a curb, they didn't see or they're running off a curb and they didn't see it, and they land with a really, really stiff leg, and then they like hyperextend their knee and they have knee issues. That's what can happen when you don't have that dissipation. You get dissipation from pronation, the knee's gonna bend, the hip flexes. That's all good things that dissipate force. So that happens. Pronation's good. It's not a bad thing. Go through mid stance. We're going to pronate a little bit more. And when I start to push off here, can you guys see how high that arch is? On that, I'll show you over here. Hopefully everyone can see this. That's a pretty darn big arch. That's from big toe extension. When I push off, we want to have a lot of hip extension, and we want to get this plantar flexion. And essentially, we want that big toe. If I go from here to here, just for the sake of doing this, I create an arch in my foot. So we want to make sure we have good big toe extension. This also, as I do this, it tensions the plantar fascia, and that creates a lot of stability in the foot. So if you have a flat foot or a foot that's, hey, it moves a little more than it should, we want to make sure we have good big toe mobility, and then you're going to create that arch just from the sake of, if I'm here with weight bearing, it just automatically rises up as my big toe goes up. How's your big toe extension? That's not bad. It's like 45. Can you go any higher?
I go back here.
Keep that big toe up there.
That's not bad. It's pretty good. So big toe extension is a part of it. But one thing that a lot of runners, a big misconception is that I need to wear a motion control shoe to do this, to stabilize my foot on the back end. Number one, you're going to get that if you get big toe extension. That creates stability. And research has shown the most unstable position of your foot. It's not here. It's not here. It's actually not even here because I've already created a stable lever. Your foot actually supinates. It goes the other way. That big toe is a big part of resupination. You don't want to push off on a foot that doesn't have the arch, doesn't have that extension, because it's more of an unstable foot. So this helps create tension. We want to make sure we have a stable foot on push off. But the other part is the most unstable position is actually the moment your heel lifts off the ground. It's like right around here. This is where a lot of runners get into trouble, where if we don't have stability through the big toe and through the inside and outside ball of the foot, our foot is going to do all sorts of wonky, I'll turn in, I'll turn out, I clip myself, the foot pushes off and it does all this wonky twisting motion behind us. So when I see someone who I have a heel whip, we'll look at the big toe, because I think I talked to someone the other day, I forgot who it was, or it was everybody. But if you can't get that extension, we tend to kick off, and then you get that whipping. But can come from the big toe, but a lot of times it also comes from, I don't have the stability here, and so I don't have a stable foot, and I end up twisting off in a really awkward and weird way. So in order to create, actually I'll show you guys real quick, the runner's tripod. So when you lift, anyone know what the lifter's tripod is? Like when you're squatting and deadlifting, like for your foot? The lifter's tripod is the heel, outside ball of the foot, inside ball of the foot. You want to create that, you want to have an equal weight inside, outside, and the heel. So when you're squatting, the weight is loaded equally. You don't want this to happen, because you're going to be way off balance, and then if that happens also, you're just loading more quads than glutes. For runners, we do want to do that when we're lifting. We have a different tripod. It's outside ball of foot. I actually have calluses here too from just my tripod. I don't have much of my big toe, but it's outside ball of the foot, inside ball of foot, big toe. That creates kind of a weird acute triangle. These other toes can help, but this is the runner's tripod. And think about that, when you're pushing off, we have to be able to press that big toe into the ground. That's what gives us stability through that runner's tripod. If your big toe is not active at all, essentially it's like Chad's recording us right now. It's like if he only has 2 legs of that tripod, or one leg super wobbly, it's just going to fall over. So you really want to make sure, I know it's kind of an awkward looking triangle, but here, that is the runner's tripod, and we want to make sure, you can do some things to help these parts, but the main thing we're going to focus on today is if we can press that big toe into the ground, that gives us a lot of stability through that runner's tripod. All right, any questions on that?
So you use this tripod when the heel is leaving the floor?
Yep. Yeah, so the moment that I'm pressing my big toe into the ground. It's not 100% pressed down, but I have an active big toe as I push, but the most important part is right here. If that big toe isn't pressing, or you don't have any activation of your arch, you're not using a full potential of that runner's tripod. You're going to be less stable. So yes, the moment the heel comes off is the important part, and all the way through push off. Yeah, you'll probably have an early heel off. So like if I can't get like that, like this position, this is why we need to look at all that knee over toe motion I have here. Like that's a lot. That's why we were talking about it earlier. Like runners need to have knee over toe motion. It's an important motion to have. But if you don't have that, what'll happen is in this position, instead of being here, you might be essentially you'll be here. You'll push off early, or you actually might have a lack of hip extension. Like you'll change some things, but you'll use the calf, you'll use that calf before that like nice stretch response, and then you end up loading it more. So sometimes with, and actually I care more about, it is 45, 60-ish here, but I want to care more about what the big toe is. I want to see, are you in like 10 or 20 degrees of this, and can you still get 10 degrees of big toe extension? This is the important part. This actually puts a lot, but as this occurs, this lowers the plantar fascia. I'm in this position. I want to make sure we can do this and get just about 10 degrees. Yeah. Carbon fiber, they increase stiffness. So like your joints don't go through as much range of motion. Right. So like your big toe, it's not going to go through as much range of motion, which is good. But like in your case, Jay, I would say, okay, if your big toe is limited, I want to do everything I can to make sure your ankle has proper mobility, your hip has. I want to make sure everything else is able to compensate. Yeah. So even like if you don't have like if for some reason you have a hip replacement, you're never going to get. You can't get 20, you can only get 10. Well, I want to make sure you have as much knee over toe, as much big toe extension, just to make up for that as best we can.
And I wonder too, like, because my ankle and hips are pretty flexible. Mm-hmm. I wonder if like my toe is making sure that it doesn't like, the reason it's tight is because the other two are mobile. Like it's making sure that I'm not overly mobile. So. Yeah,
it could be it. How much do you have? How much big toe extension do you have? Oh, it's not bad. It's like 40. Ish, and then do this one and then lift it up. Right, you have the do a little more knee over toe, like bend the knee more. There, now do it. Yeah, that's just about 10. I'd say you're like right on like the cusp of being a little bit too stiff. But generally, what I look for is, I mean, I like 60, but the minimum is 45, like without the knee over toe, and then with knee over toe, I like doing it this way. It's like, can you get that 10? Force it up, and if you get 10, great. That's all. Those are the two big things I'm looking for big toe extension. And again, that's to make sure we can get this push off that creates a nice stable platform, a nice stable lever for us to it's almost like what's a good example? It's like if I want to like jump in the air and I'm on this concrete floor, I'm assuming this is concrete underneath the carpet, or if I'm on like some old like dry rotted piece of wood that I'm like, if I jump on that, it's not as, it's going to move around on me. It might even break. So I want to have a stable platform to push off of. That's the important part here. Is that screen still on? Yeah. Everybody move that way. I want to show everybody the TV. And, and then the abductor hallucis, which is on that left one. Essentially what these two muscles do is number one, they don't scrunch left. It's pointing to that red one way off to the side. It almost looks like a feather. But that one, if I can show you guys, it does this. If my big toe's in like this, if I have a bunion, I contract it, I slide my big toe out to the side. It's a very interesting muscle, but these are two big ones that give us arch stability and arch control. The other one is the shin splint muscle. It starts way up here. It's got a long tendon. We're not going to talk too much about that today. But number one is I want to make sure I'm pushing my toe into the ground. And also we can work on sliding. If I move my big toe in, I slide it out. And I can feel that arch activate. I don't do that one as much. Can you guys see the circle on the right, those two little bones? Here, hit next real quick. Here's a better photo. Can you zoom in at all? Zoom in to right where that circle is. Yeah, perfect. So those two bones, those are called sesamoid bones. Your kneecap is also a sesamoid bone, just a much bigger one. The purpose of these bones, like if you didn't have a kneecap, I remember when I was a PT student, I think she was 75 years old. When she was like 13 or 12, she was playing, fell on concrete and just shattered her kneecap. And back, I don't know what that was, the 70s or 60s, they just took the kneecap out. They didn't give her a replacement. They didn't bother trying to put anything in there. She will never, no matter how much we strengthen her quad, she will never be able to fully straighten. She's always going to be stuck here. This is so important for the mechanical advantage of the quads and the quad tendon, where if you don't have a kneecap, you're going to lose a lot of strength. The only reason these bones are here, they give us a little bit of just kind of that like ball of the foot, a little bit of structure to it. But the main reason those are there is, here, go back to the other picture really quick, is a flexor hallucis. Oh, you see it right there. You don't have to go back. Zoom back into the right one, or zoom into the left one now, like where the left bones would be. I'll show you. Zoom in like here. Yeah, zoom in like right there. So that flexor hallucis brevis goes right, can you see where that muscle goes right through those sesamoid bones? So the only reason those bones are there is to give more mechanical advantage to the flexor hallucis brevis, to that arch muscle. Your body is telling us, we want to train this muscle. This big toe press down is so important. We put these two little sesamoid bones there. And there are a few tendons that run through there as well, but the only reason, a big reason why those two muscle bellies, the tendons run through there, is to give more mechanical advantage to the big toe, because it creates a lot more power through that muscle contraction. If those weren't there, it would be nowhere near as powerful of a contraction. So to me, it's our body telling us we should be pressing our big toe down and doing this when we're walking, when we're standing, when we're doing things. Because to me, that's just like, this is the purpose of the sesamoid bones. It is meant to press our big toe into the ground. So have any questions on that? So you got two mini kneecaps, boom and boom. That big arch muscle goes right through. We're gonna practice it today. And then we'll zoom out a little bit. There's another good muscle here that I do like to strengthen. So when we look at the foot, there are, it's in the book too, but there's 3 arches. You have the medial, the inside longitudinal arch. You have the outside, which is you can't see it as much. And there's also a transverse arch right on the top of the foot, where as you press the big toe down, you tend to create stability through both. But that adductor hallucis muscle, essentially it brings the big toe together. That strengthening that can help actually improve the transverse, the arch height that goes from side to side. We might do a little bit of that today, but we'll focus on the other 2 for sure. I think that's, are there any more photos? Is that everything? I think that's everything I sent you. Okay, cool. And then let me just make sure, go back to the other one, the more color-coded one. I think that's most things. There's other ones too. There's lumbricals, flexor digitorum brevis. Think of the muscles in the foot. Actually, your pinky toe has its own muscle, so if you can do this, it's just kind of funny. If you can like move your pinky toe, it has its own muscles, like the big toe. It's kind of weird, but the pinky toe and the big toe are kind of special because they have their own muscles. So we actually could do pinky toe press downs, but that's just, I don't know, that's just interesting. So you should be able to do that. Your big toe.
From branches with those feet?
What's that? Yeah, I could. I want you guys to have like monkey feet. Monkey feet are good things to have. You want to be able to grab things, to grip the ground. Yeah, the big toe, the pinky toe have their own muscles. We're going to just focus on the big toe today. But also there's a spot in your brain designated to the big toe and these muscles. So I don't think it's realistic to say I can move each of my toes separately, but this, we're going to do this right now. This should be realistic for everybody. Toe yoga, big toe down, other toes up, other toes down, big toe up. So everybody,
I want to take to practice all this so you can just do it on demand.
I don't know if I have an answer for that. I think it took a while. Everybody right now, do this for me while we're seated, because standing is a little bit more challenging. Press your big toe into the ground. I don't want to see this. When you press it down, if you scrunch, you will immediately see that tendon pop up. It's the toe extender, but when you flex, it extends that joint. If you see that, just relax and try to press it down without that happening. Other four toes up, 4 toes down, big toe up. Do 10 on one side and do 10 on the other. This is just letting me know you have some awareness in your body, awareness for your feet.
I've been practicing this one actually.
Okay, good. Also, don't let this happen. Don't let your foot wobble. You want to keep that tripod. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't let your knee help you at all. No cheating. Also, let me know if someone's like, hey, I have it easier on one side. Let me know if your torn side's harder.
I've been practicing my torn side this side.
All right, all we're doing right here, guys, is just bringing, I just want to say, do we have some mental awareness? Is our brain able to say, hey, can I activate these muscles? That's step 1. So we're not even strengthening here, we're just getting more awareness. Step number 2, what I love to do is, I'm going to help you guys out, because just pressing it down can be challenging if you've never done it before, but I want to show you what I love to do. If you can't see this, I'll try to find a spot to see it. But I take my finger, I place it under my big toe, and then I try to squish my finger. And as I do that, I can feel my arch activate, and my arch is going to rise, and I relax. It's going to go back down. That's cool. But I want you guys to feel that pressure on your pointer finger. You can use whatever finger you want. Just don't use your pinky finger. And I relax. Give me 10 of those of just really pressing down. Don't let it scrunch on you. And then look at your arch. Try to see if you can feel it. And don't just put more weight. Don't just drive your knee over your toe, because that's kind of how you cheat. And once you've done that one, do the other side and see if there's a difference. And I like to think I'm holding for around 1, 2, 3. And I relax. And then 1, 2, 3. My left side's a heck of a lot easier than my right. That's just me. And I know my right foot tends to be a little bit flatter. So I should probably be working more on my right than my left. All right, anybody knows the difference here? Or how did it feel? Felt the same? Anybody see their arch rising? Show of hands. who have felt their arch like working. Cool. The next step is everybody stand up. Oop. So a benefit of the big toe is when running, remember it's a jumping, it's a single leg hop over and over again. It's a single leg activity. We need to have balance. So we're going to do two things. I'm going to have you guys, essentially what the big toe does is it helps anchor that inside ball of the foot to the ground. So without it, it's much easier when we're going to do this balance test for this to happen. But when I press the big toe down, it should be easier. Instead of that happening, you might just get like the foot kind of does this, which is a little bit more efficient than I'm losing contact with the ground. So don't do anything with the big toe. Everybody just stand on one leg, hands on your hips. Don't press it down. Just stand there. I shouldn't even told you anything, but just stand there and just see how your balance is. We're going to hold for like, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds. And if it's too easy, you can close your eyes. But if it's hard with your eyes open, you don't have to close them. But if it's too easy, close your eyes. And try not to, don't use that big toe yet. Remember how that feels? Switch sides. So now, go back to the other side. Same thing. If your eyes are open or closed, try to press that big toe down and try to hold. See how that feels? See how it looks? Yeah. So it should be easier. If you're like, hey, I didn't feel a difference, that's okay. Because sometimes it is all super stiff and jacked up in here. Everybody grab your lacrosse balls. I think I have one on my bed. If you don't have one, I have a few. Or you could use a spiky ball. I just like lacrosse balls better. But grab your soft tissue release ball. So what we can do, I think most of you guys have probably rolled out your foot before. So the simple way to do it, first, I just do this. I try to find tender spots. So you can put a lot of weight on it. Inside, outside, it's all fair game. But the moment you find something, instead of just smashing it, what I love to do is if it's say inside of my archer, which I got a little bit, my heel goes down, and then I'm going to flex. I'm going to extend my toes. So it's an active release of the foot into plantar fascia. And sometimes I'll try to like get a little closer to it, more upright. But this is one of my favorite ways to release the foot. So what I want you guys to do, I'm going to get my, can someone time this? We're going to do a minute on of just finding spots. Actually, 30 seconds of finding spots, and then we're going to do a minute of releasing. So whoever got a timer, start that right now. So try to find spots, guys. If you found one, you can go right into toes down, toes up, and you get that active release. So that probably should feel great on your plantar fascia.
Yeah. There's a lot of spots, I feel.
Lots of things. But this tends to help. So sometimes when you have tissue stiffness, it'll take your ball of the foot here, it'll go wham, it'll kind of pull it and rotate it. So now you're, instead of being nice and stable here, it's kicked off. So it's harder for you to find that stable position. So this tends to help with that little bit of bony alignment and joint alignment.
It's 30.
What's up? Oh, it's 30? Okay. If you haven't toe scrunched yet, go for it.
Right foot down.
That's okay. Yeah, that's a good point. So, guys, if the spot's like really far back here, you just float on it and then do the same exact thing. I like to do this thing and then do the active release, but you could be on it and you just do the release. Switch sides. Switch feet. See if there's a difference. Someone time 30 seconds real quick. Let me know when that's up. But if you found a spot that's like, ooh, this is a hot spot, boom, you can start adding those toe flexions in pretty immediately. You find something? And we're saying boom right there, and then add those toe up, toe down, and it should feel like it's working it out as you're doing it. Anybody not find something? That's actually, if you don't find anything, it's actually a good thing. It means your foot tissue quality is pretty good. Oh, like for the foot? Yeah, I'm just thinking of like, because like there's obviously like if I do pressure, like okay, there's going to be more pressure no matter what. But I want it to feel like, let me see if I can find. There's a spot over here I had. It should feel like just like more tender. That's all I'm going for. It might feel like a quad tenderness might be different than a here tenderness. If you have plantar fasciitis or plantar fasciosis like here, it's like, ooh, that's actually a pain. You could hang out on that pain spot. I'm okay with that. So it might be tissue tenderness. It might feel, ooh, this feels good. Or it might just be, hey, you actually have a painful spot because I have plantar fascia issues going on. But yeah, all that's different things, but all that's fair game for you to want to hit. All right, take a break. We're going to do one more time. Stand on one leg, big toe down. Now try to hold that. And if you had your eyes closed or open, just kind of mimic that. Hands on your hips. Keep it the same. So this essentially is looking at, hey, if you felt better after the lacrosse ball, you had more of a tissue stiffness issue. And if you felt better with the big toe, I mean, we did the big toe press downs with the lacrosse ball anyway, but if you felt better with both of them, that's probably both things. But if you felt like, hey, I had better balance after the big toe press downs, we're just creating more stability here. And if we get your arch more active and stronger, it's only going to help with your running and with your balance. And also with stabilizing your foot, which takes a lot of stress and strain off the plantar fascia. You guys have any questions on that? So that was also a mouthful. Essentially, your sesamoid bone's super important. The small little kneecaps right here. And then that flexor muscle is pressing the big toe down, also super, super important. I tend to, I'll cue it sometimes with runners. Because what we don't want to have happen is you're like focusing on it so hard, you press your big toe down so hard.
You can get too obsessive.
Yeah, like essentially you won't, if you press down hard enough, you won't let it extend, and then you'll do that and it'll just twist out on you. Like you don't want that to happen, but with the core, hey, 20 to 30% contraction. With the big toe, or with the arch, 20 to 30% contraction as you're running. Like you don't want to be so stiff that you just end up kicking your foot out. Yeah, essentially doing this beforehand and doing them right now, your body's gonna learn to, even when you're walking and standing, like I can show you guys this. Oh, you know what, shoot, I don't have my Zero shoes, the insole, these don't have it. This is just a random, I might have it on here. Yeah, you can kind of see it. But the one I had for my Zeros, it was like, that was torn up, and that was torn up. This one you can't see it as much, but like my shoe, it's in my car. But this was all gone. It was just the gray. That was all gone, and that was all gone. So like it's like my runner's tripod was that's where all my pressure was between those 3 points, which is exactly where you want it to be. Okay, we're gonna do one more. It's called the short foot. Anybody ever heard of that? It's a short foot exercise. So first, before we do that, we're gonna try it here, but I wanna make sure, you have enough. You can do the big toe press down. You feel the arch activating. The short foot is just another step on top of this. Everybody have a seat on a chair. If you want to kneel like this, you can. But for the short foot, it's a little more kind of mental gymnastics we have to do. Is number one, press the big toe down. While the big toe is pressed and you feel the arch activating, I want you to imagine this distance between the ball of the foot and the heel, you're trying to shorten that. You're trying to raise the arch up. So as you press the toe down, you're trying to shorten that distance and literally shorten the foot. Hold a few seconds and then relax. So I'm really focusing on A, my big toe press down, and B, I'm trying to shorten the foot, trying to shorten that distance. Hold a few seconds, take a break. Go for 10 on each side. What I don't want to have happen is I don't want your foot to like kick off again. And it's like this, like if I just do this, yeah, your foot will shorten, excuse me. But I don't want to come from this muscle just doing this. I want it to come from the big toe press downs. And I want you to really focus on just, even if it doesn't move, I get more of that intrinsic foot muscle contraction as I'm trying to shorten the foot. So the cool part is, think of it like, instead of pressing the toe down, you're pressing down so hard, this muscle's now anchored here and it's trying to slide this, trying to make the arch higher, because if you're not moving the big toe anymore, the only thing you can do as you get stronger is you're gonna make the arch higher. So if you've done one side, do the other side. But I actually do, as I do this more, it's starting to cramp on me. I'm just using it so much. Do you feel?
Cramps.
Yeah, that means we need to do more of these. How are yours feeling, Mark?
I feel like I can push down there, but then I don't really feel anything like going on besides like right here.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're trying to, and it's, guys, if you don't feel anything happening, that's okay. You want to master the big toe press down, then the short foot will come. It's hard to see the change, but I feel so much more, just my arch is like almost going to cramp. I'm pressing down so hard. It's super, super common where you do this, guys. Like mine doesn't pop up anymore. I've trained myself, but like that, it's super common. That wants to pop up. Right. So you can have it. That's a good cue. You can have a finger there, press the toe down, try to create that short foot, and not let that tendon just and pop away.
I did notice a difference after you do it for a while and you're pushing down. You can kind of, okay, it's activating, but it's not coming up. What am I doing different? It's like so hard to separate the mind over matter kind of.
Yeah, it's tough. But once you get it, the reason, a question you guys may have is, well, why do we have such a hard time with this? Why is it challenging for us to activate this? One thing is like that nasalis muscle we talked about the first day. Like I have a hard time, like I have to do all these other like accessory movements to get my nose to actually I'm better now. But it's hard for me to scrunch my nose. I just, for some reason, have never used that muscle, and I have to train myself to do it. I've gotten better, but I suck at doing it. Number 2, who has a big, can I steal one of those shoes? All right, so I know a lot of you guys like Hoka. I'm not dissing Hoka. There's no good shoes, there's no bad shoes. But one issue that we find with shoes that these are more like stability too. Do you have are these like the stability ones?
No, I think they're just some of the trail buddies.
No, these are, is this all Hokas? Are they just hard to twist?
Oh, probably the trail shoes are stiffer.
Yeah, this is pretty, oh man, it's tough to twist. But when you have a lot of stack height here, it's like your foot's on a marshmallow. It's hard for your foot to know what surface it's on, and it's also a little more challenging to press that big toe down. So not that you can't wear Hokas. Hokas, they're fine. You can wear these shoes. But if you wear a shoe that has a lot of stack height, that can be a reason why your arch is turned off. And we want to hedge our bet and do these prophylactically on our own to make sure we're on a hard surface or pressing my toe down. And you can still press the toe down here. You can create that runner's tripod. It's a little bit harder, don't get me wrong. But shoes that have a lot of stack height, which stack height is just the amount of foam that's here, the more foam, it makes it challenging for that foot to, it's like you're running on sand. It's harder for your foot, your big toe to grip the ground, and it's tougher to run on that. Think you're just on a big marshmallow. It's hard for your foot to be able to have a stable platform to press that toe down and activate your arches. So again, shoe not bad. It's just that's what happens with these. And if you wear shoes like this, it's beneficial to hedge your bet and work on some big toe press downs on your own. Yeah, get some barefoot time in elsewhere. Again, what I don't want to have happen is you wear that shoe to run in, and then you're in like a Hoka and you just walk around all day with them on. Getting some barefoot time in, it's great to get these guys active and keep them strong and healthy. It's tough. You don't want to. What happens with these two guys? Like if I'm going to twist an ankle, because I mean Chad just twist. Oh, your sock came out. But like Chad, we were talking. You twisted your ankle on a run recently. I can stand on one leg. I can do this all day long, and I'm not going to twist my ankle. I could probably start jumping too on the side. I'm not going to twist it. With shoes like this, if you clip that edge, it goes right over, and that's an issue with shoes like this, where if you clip an edge, you're probably going to twist your ankle fairly aggressively. Again, it tends to be what happens with those shoes. There's positives, there's negatives with them. So sometimes if you're on a trail, maybe have a shoe with less stack height may be beneficial. But that can be a cause of, hey, I had to get an ankle sprain. It's just an aggressive ankle sprain where, again, I'm not trying to sell anybody on barefoot shoes, but I have a lot more control. This is just rounded here. Like I feel it, it's rounded. It's sending more signals to my brain of this is what you're doing and this is safe. So just that's a little thing with, I know some of you guys have had ankle sprains and some pretty bad ones. If you're going to go on something that's a little more of a precarious surface, maybe try and have a shoe that's a little bit less of stack height. Okay, any questions on that? Yeah.
What we just did, the foot shortener or whatever.
Yeah.
Is it the same as like when they have you grab a towel or like a little ball?
Yeah, totally different.
Different.
Yeah, so guys, when you see this happen, when those tendons pop up, if you want to work these, you can. There's muscles in your shin. They're just on the other side of your tibia bone. Long feather-like, it looks like a feather-like muscle, like if you cut a feather in half. They sit right there, and there's a really long tendon. One muscle does this. It's the third muscle that supports your arch. It's the two arch muscles and tib. They're the three most important ones. But there's the flexor muscle for the toes that scrunches them. It does that. And then one goes to the four toes, and one goes to the big toe. So when you're doing the toe scrunching, you're actually working this guy out versus the intrinsic foot muscles. So you'll probably get a little bit of this, but you get a lot more when you do the big toe press down. You're actually going to activate that arch better.
I think I was doing them wrong.
Yeah,
I think I was doing the other thing.
Yeah, it's a common, like, I'm going to graduate PT school. That was like the norm of, you just give someone towel scrunches or toe scrunches, and I'm like, yeah, it's fine, but it's not specific to running. It's not going to create a stable foot. It's just you're just strength training these, which I guess you could, but I think that's not a low-hanging fruit for runners to work on. Heavier kettlebells, and I'll actually have people, if I have a 45-pound barbell, I'll have them pass the barbell around, and that's a heck of a challenge for the foot. So give that a shot. You're going to do 20 on each side. So super slow, elbow straight. There's passing. So I think let it go too, like bring it up to the left and then bring it to the right. You're just slowly passing, focus on that big toe press down. And you'll probably feel it in the ankle, the calf as well, maybe, just don't lose it. But I'm hoping you feel it in the arch as well.
Now slammed into the wall.
Yeah, toss it, throw it.
Some load.
Load helps. Yeah, so like sometimes I'll give someone like just a single leg Romanian deadlift with no weight tends to be more wobbly than if I have you hold a weight.
Why is that?
It's probably from like if I have a weight vest on when I run, same thing. I just feel like I just go right into it. There are like when I'm pushing down on someone, the easiest way to think about it is our body senses pressure.
Response.
It's a response. It senses like with we talked about this before the run. With the Theragun, if I hit my glutes, there's nerve endings that only senses vibration. So you stimulate those nerve endings, and all of a sudden the muscle also gets stimulated and it gets turned on. So it's a fantastic warm up. So when you're putting pressure on someone, those pressure nerve endings are getting sensitized, like their whole body. You're getting pressure through your body, and then it just turns on. You have those nerves turned on, and you have more the muscles turned on. You have more body awareness. So it's probably a very similar thing when you're running. You're probably getting that load over and over again, and things. You're also just warming up anyway. Your heart rate goes up. You're turning your nervous system on. But that's a good point. You probably could have that compression going down every step you take. It might help turn things on. But when you're doing the test where you're here and Mark's here and I'm pushing down and he's doing this, your body's sensing that pressure. It just gives you those nerve endings are now firing better, and then you get more of that. You'll probably get more rotation if the motor control is an issue. Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, that was most of the foot stuff I wanted to go over. I mean, we could do a bunch of other things. Another one is you could stand there, press the toe down, and then move it in. Someone has a bunion. This is a great exercise. Oh, real quick. Who here has like a bunion at all? Does anybody have a bunion? Okay, do you guys know what a bunion is? So essentially it's there's like a little bony growth here and your big toe is like really key. It's like if I walked around, my big toe looked like that. This is actually a symptom of something else. It's called hallux valgus. There's a big long bone here, and there can be a genetic component. I'm not going to lie about that. But when someone says, "Oh, you have a bunion, it's genetic," that's bullshit. There's a lot more that causes a bunion than just genetics. What happens is this bone becomes unstable, whether it's from just you never had any arch control, or I guess there could be a genetic component to it. But this bone shifts this way, and then by compensation, it actually shifts this way, and the whole bone rotates. So when that rotation happens, your big toe ends up getting like that, and then people have this big like callus here. Your big toe gets like that, and then it also gets kicked in. So, and then by compensation, you'll end up rubbing this more, and then that's why the actual bunion, that you get that like callus here, or you get that bony growth, is because now that ends up hitting the ground harder. So what actually causes a bunion, it can be from really tight shoes that cause that, and you might get a little bit of that, but a true bunion, it's actually from instability of we call it the first ray, your first metatarsal, which is stabilized when you press your big toe down. So if someone has a bunion, big toe activation and arch stabilization, the muscle that actually comes here is also super important too. But if you can stabilize get your big toe more active and you have a bunion, that can be huge with stopping that from progressing and probably even reverting it a little bit. I don't know how much research there is on that, but for my brain, it makes a lot of sense of if we stabilize here, we can stop some progression of a bunion from getting worse. And yes, toe spacers are great and wider shoes, that's all good stuff. But if we get the big toe more active, only good things tend to happen. All right, I want to make sure I touch on that because a lot of people are like, I have a bunion, it's from my narrow shoes. I'm like, that could be why, but we also will probably have to work on some arch stabilization. All right, cool. I think I've talked enough. Unless anybody have any questions, feel free.
I have you talked about the transverse arch, right?
Oh yeah.
The callus on the second.
Oh, the second one.
Yeah.
Does it hurt?
Yeah.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, it's right there.
Used to hurt a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
What-
How can I improve that?
What can you do about that? The big toe press downs are probably going to help. Do you have a callus on the outside of your big toe? Oh, that is interesting. You must kick out some way. I think what have you been doing for it? Any exercises at all? Okay. How did it feel with the lacrosse ball on the foot? Was that tender at all?
No.
Okay, good. I would do some of the big toe press downs, and I would actually try to you could press it down and then try to slide it out to try to create a little bit of a wider foot. Because sometimes that can happen if this is all super scrunched together, and that big toe slide out can help just get a little bit of a wider base in the foot. So I would try that. That should help, but it's just an interesting spot to have it. I don't see a lot of those. I would say if you can get that foot a little bit wider, that may help. But cool.
How do you do that big toe slide out? Like what's the
Oh, I do this. So number one, I push it in with my, like I'm not doing a lot of pressure here. I push my big toe in. I press my toe down when it's already here, and I'm not applying pressure. This is just some tactile cueing. And I slide my big toe out to the side, and I'm like, cool, that happened. Help it back. Press the toe down, slide, 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 slide. Sometimes you'll see that pop up. I'm actually okay with that a little bit here. Slide, 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 slide. If you cannot have it pop up, that's fine. Obviously, I got to work on this because that's helping a little bit, but I still feel my arch working as I do it. Which is pretty darn challenging. You can just move it over on your own. And actually, if you can move it on your own, I do that too. Move it over, finger, press down, bam. But I feel all that activating pretty darn well. But good question. Okay, anything else? Any other questions you guys have? Sweet. If you have any questions one-on-one, I will be here. But yeah, this was the final talk all about feet.
Thank you, man.
Cool. Thanks, guys.